This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
ברשות הגאון הגדול, כבוד האב בדין, מורנו ורבנו רבי אליהו בן חיים, ברשות המרא דאתרא, ידידנו ומכובדנו הרב עמנואל שמעונוב, כבוד הרבנים הגאונים, כל אחד ואחד לפי כבודו ולפי מעלתו. פסוק says, צדיק כתמר יפרח, כארז בלבנון ישגה. A tzaddik has is similar to two kinds of trees. One tree is tamar, tzaddik katamar yifrach. That's a palm tree that produces the delicious, sweet fruits, the dates. And the other tree is ke'erez b'levanon yizgeh, like a cedar tree, rise in Lebanon, which famous to have large and strong cedar trees. Two characters the tzaddik has. One character is katamar yifrach, and the other character is ke'erez b'levanon yizgeh. I heard this pirush from Rav Ovadia on the pasuk. What those two characters means? Tzaddik has to have the sweetness of a tamar when he teaches Torah. The words which comes out of his mouth should be sweet, delicious. חן וצק בשפתותיו, פה מפיק מרגליות, חיקו ממתקים. When he speaks, he should attract people with the words of Torah. מתוקים מדבש ונופת צופים. On the other hand, כארז בלבנון ישגה. When it comes to take leadership, when it comes sometimes to stand up and raise the voice and speak up and say things which they are against PR, against public relations, against what other people think, and sometimes not just regular people, sometimes big shots. To speak against governments or governors or ministers, to say it out loud, that's the tzorech hasha'ah. The tzaddik should have this character to get up and speak up. And I think the Rav was speaking from his own personal characters. When he said those explanations to the pasuk, we felt how he's not talking about himself, obviously, but he's talking from himself. That's him. He's not bringing up a pirush that he saw in a book. He's bringing up what he's exercising himself day to day. When he was saying divrei Torah, I don't need to tell you. Everyone heard the Rav speaking, but the words are coming out of his mouth like delicious more than honey. פה מפיק מרגליות, literally. פסוקים coming out of his mouth. לשון מליצית. He had such a beautiful language. I remember I learned from Rav Ovadia for a few years. And I remember shiurim that the Rav used to give, not like he said in the last years when they had the Lavyan, the satellite, and he had to speak for tens of thousands of people, Revivot Amecha Bet Israel, when he spoke in closed forms. So the shiurim were on a much higher level. And he spoke for 2 hours, halacha, starting from the Gemara, going to the Rishonim, surrounding the entire Torah, Rishonim, תוספות מכאן, תוספות משם, רמב"ם מפה, רמב"ם משם, רשב"א, מאיר, ריטב"א, ר"ן, not missing any one of them. Bringing contradictions, resolving the contradictions, questions and answers, goes to the Ahronim, Shulchan Aruch, and Ahronei Ahronim was a beautiful building, starting from the foundation, going to the first floor, second floor, third floor, higher than the Empire State Building. Beautiful tower, beautiful solid binyan of Torah. So much depth was in this binyan, so much hekef, so much knowledge. Used to go out of this shiurim dizzy. Oh wow, so much information we got in 2 hours. But one thing I can tell you, when he stopped the shiur, when he said Rabbi Chaim HaKasher Omer, we felt like Haval Shenigmar. It was so delicious. We were so attracted. We wanted more. We didn't want him to stop. We didn't felt like we need to go, there's something else to do. Tzadik katamar ifrah. They still like tamar. But when time came and the Rav had to go stand up and speak, maybe this is more famous. The media took the words that he said and made tzimes out of it, publicized it for him, and probably he knew that, not probably, he knew that he was very sharp, very smart. His mind was like the speed of a light. He would see what we don't see. And he knew they're publicizing what he said, but he wanted the words to be publicized. And he used sometimes very strong terms because he knew that's what's going to catch. And I need this word to be around. I need people to know this. I need people to know this even across the ocean. How do I get these words to go across the ocean? If I'm going to say it nicely and politely, I'm going to stand up and I'm going to speak up and I'm going to say it the way it is, and I'm going to say it the way that these words will get from here till the end of the world and from here for the next generations as well. The words are going to be heard. כארז בלבנון יסגה. And I want to use a couple stories to emphasize it. One story is to emphasize the humbleness of the Rav. Tzadik katamar ifrah, not only by teaching Torah, but also by good manners. Approaching people, taking care of people, caring about other people. And not just caring for his own students. Not just caring for his own people. חסידה שעושה חסד עם חברותיה. But caring and taking care of others, and sometimes his enemies. And this is the story I'm about to tell you. I heard this story from a Rosh Yeshiva in Tifrach, a Gaon Rabbi Yaakov Friedman. Used to be times, years ago, before the Rav was known as Ador, used to be groups in Israel that did not accept the Rav. Some of them even argue, and some of them even fought against him. הרב זוכר מלחמות שהיו עושים, וימררו והרובו ויסתמו בעלי חצים. Like יוסף הצדיק. I'm talking about those days. 35 years ago and more. A Rosh Yeshiva came here to America to collect for his yeshiva. And he met a rich person. And he got a good connection with him. And he was willing to give him enough money to build a whole building in Israel. $2 million for the yeshiva. But this rich man had a condition. If Rav Ovadia will say to give you, I'm giving you a check of $2 million. So this Rosh Yeshiva has no choice now. You got to have Rav Ovadia to speak with this rich man to give him $2 million. For that he will do anything. He called the Rav's family and he's begging them to speak with the Rav and helping him to get this $2 million. The family of the Rav knows this Rosh Yeshiva, that he is speaking publicly against the Rav. He doesn't hide it. He speaks to his students in his yeshiva against the Rav. If this opportunity will come to a regular person, he will shut off the yeshiva, close the faucet for him, dry him out. Well, he's speaking against me. I'm going to give him a lesson. I'm going to teach him. but not the Rav. And this is a testimony. This Rosh Yeshiva is also a student of my Rosh Yeshiva, and he told him that story, and he told me. So this is almost first-hand. He could not believe this Rosh Yeshiva himself, that the Rav is going to help him, but he tried. He knew he's speaking against him publicly. He knew that people knows that. He had students in this yeshiva that their parents used to be students of Rav Ovadia. These boys went home and told their parents what their rabbi says about him. Their rabbi. And the word was out. And the family of some of the Rav close circle put a lot of pressure on the Rav not to help this Rosh Yeshiva. But the Rav said, Chas v'shalom, they're teaching Torah over there. The boys who go to this yeshiva learning Torah, and they're really learning Torah over there. They talking against me? It's not about me. You got Torah from Hashem, from Sinai. It's not about me, if they're respecting me or not respecting me. It's about learning Torah and producing Talmidei Chachamim. That's what I care about. And he took the phone, and he spoke to the rich man, and the rich man wrote a check, $2 million to this Rosh Yeshiva, who's raising Talmidim in his yeshiva, teaching them against Rav Ovadia. This not exist anymore. Almost not exist anymore. But where do we find a character like this? The humbleness of the Rav. When the Rav lived in Tel Aviv, his boys used to go to Ashkenaz schools over there. And once during Pesach, his son was a boy, came to his house, to the rabbi's house, with an Ashkenaz friend. This Ashkenaz friend became a rabbi Teitelbaum, Rabbi Mendelbaum. And he told the story. He said, I was a kid, I was coming with the son of the Rav to his house during Pesach, and on the table, Sfaradim has the minhag to eat kitniyot. So on the table, they had served kitniyot on the table. But as soon as I walked into the room, the Rav told his son, take the kitniyot off the table. Show respect to your friend. Ashkenazim are not eating kitniyot during Pesach. He came to our house now. We shouldn't keep the kitniyot on the table. Take the kitniyot out. We're talking about a child. Not a big Ashkenaz Rav came with a white beard, you were respecting him, and you take off the kitniyot out of the table. A child came into the house. Others maybe not even would pay attention to the situation. But the Rav, with his adinut hanefesh, he used to be care about every person. He used to be care about any person's feelings. Cared about this child also. He's going to feel bad. They're eating kitniyot and he's not getting from these candies or from these cookies on the table. They took out the kitniyot off the table. תורת אמת הייתה בפיו, ועוולה לא נמצא בשפתיו. The Rav had the zchut, and everyone knows that. We don't need to speak about this. The knowledge of his Torah, the depth of his understanding of Torah, הבקיאות והעמקות, סיני ועוקר הרים. We don't need to say that. We don't have even the scales to measure that. But maybe this is not such a famous story. How did the Rav got to this special memory? Once, the Rav had to make a phone call. אם אתם זוכרים, היה טלפון עם המחוגה. So the Rav had to make a phone call regarding taking care of a very special matter. So he had the phone book, he asked for the phone book, and you look at the phone book for the number, and he dials like this. This is 9, so he dials 9. Then he looks again. 8, okay, he does 8. Then looks again. 7, okay, he does 7. 6 numbers, or maybe 7 numbers, Each number, he looks at the book and dials the number. No answer. No answer. Hang up the phone. Went back to learn. This is amazing to see how the Rav is diving into learning with a second. He never even put his nose out of the water of Torah. And 1 second he's already diving. Half hour later, the Gabbai came again. We need to make this phone call. Again, he takes the phone book, and same story repeats itself. Each number he dials by itself. Look at the book and dials the number. Look at the book and dial the number. This story repeated itself 3 times until he asked him, Kvod Rav, you remember the whole Shas. You know the whole Torah by heart. Can't you remember 1 number? 6 numbers? 6 digits? What's the big deal? The Rav, this is part of his anava, hardly spoke about himself. אני לא זוכר הרבה סיפורים שהרב סיפר על עצמו. כבודו זוכר סיפורים שהרב סיפר על עצמו? מעט מאוד. From time to time, שנחה עליו הרוח, היה אומר איזה סיפור, ותמיד היה בזה איזה מטרה, was a goal to encourage others. But I guess זה היה ככה כמו שגגה יוצאת מפי השליט. He said when he was a teenager, about 14-15 years old, קיבל קבלה על עצמו שלא לזכור שום דבר מענייני העולם הזה. He accepted upon himself not to remember anything from this world. He wants to devote his mind, his brain for Torah only. So he can't remember the number. And if he's going to dial 2 numbers at once, so the second number is already in his memory. He can't do 9, 8. Got to put 9 and then 8. Why? If he's going to do 9 and 8 together, so 8 is in his memory. He didn't want to remember anything from this world. He wanted to have pure mind only for Torah. That's a 14-year-old boy. And he said, I knew it's going to cause me inconvenience. I forgot meetings. The scheduled meetings for him. He did not appear to the meeting. He forgot. He didn't forget just meetings and people. He forgot to eat. And I know this from very close. Many times the food was left, not because he didn't have the time to eat. He forgot to eat. He didn't fast. He was not fasting. But he was so busy learning. The food was there on the table. He didn't look at it. He kept learning and learning and learning and learning until he fell asleep. And then the next day, if people were not there on top of him, eat. And his wife used to say, Rabbanit, how many times she used to come over to him and beg him to eat, and come to eat, and come to eat. He always ate cold food. And always she warmed the food for him 100 times. He says, I'm coming, warm the food, I'm coming. By the time he comes, well, it's cold again. And that story, I just remember that story. As a kid, I remember they told us the story. That she used to be in the olden days, they used to cook starch for ironing shirts. Cook starch in the house. It's water with flour, with some, I don't know, אבקת כביסה, מה היה שם? עמילן, starch. So the Rabbanit prepared 2 pots. One was supper for the Rav. He came home from yeshiva late. And one was the starch that she prepared for the ironing. So the Rav came after midnight, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. He didn't have a watch. Till he was 30 years old, he didn't have a watch. And they asked him, how do you manage to know the times? He says, I don't need to know times. I learn till I know I can't, and then I go home. There's no time that by this hour you go home. So she used to wait for him, Rabbanit, alayha shalom. She used to wait for him always, but sometimes she fell asleep. That night she fell asleep. The Rav came home 2 o'clock in the morning. He needed to eat something. After a whole day he didn't eat. He goes to the kitchen, he opens a pot, he takes the food, he eats and goes to sleep. Next day, the Rabbanit goes to iron the shirts. She looking for the starch. The pot is empty. What happened here? What happened to the starch? She opened the second pot. The food is full. He ate by mistake. He ate the starch. So she wanted to test him. She went to the Rav and says, איך היה האוכל אתמול בלילה? how was the food last night? He says, delicious. טעים מאוד, תודה רבה, delicious. מה אכלת? What did you eat? I don't remember. לא זוכר. אבל היה טעים מאוד, תודה רבה. His mind wasn't in the food. His mind wasn't in the phone numbers. His mind wasn't in any other material object in this world. Just devoted for Torah. Devoted for Anhaga. And that explains also why many other occasions the Rav was not involved in what's going on. He didn't want to be involved. Show me the agreement. I'll go through the details. I'll go through the sa'ifim and the contract. He didn't want to be involved. He didn't want to look at other things. He wanted to be devoted to Torah 100%, pure Torah. That explains his memory. When a person is devoting himself for Torah like this, nefesh amal amela lo. התורה עומלת לו בחזרה. רש"י says במסכת סנהדרין פרק חלק, בצע עמלה לו, שהתורה עצמה מבקשת מאת הקדוש ברוך הוא שתימסר בידיו. סדריה, מערכותיה, סודותיה. When a person is sacrificing himself and devoting himself for Torah like this, yeah, of course he was a very talented man. But the siyata d'shmaya that he had, tremendous siyata d'shmaya above human being's capability to write 11 volumes of Yabi'a Omer. For us just to open the sources that he wrote in the Tshuva takes hours just to open it. And he learned the whole Tshuva. And he calling it and bringing it. כמה זמן היה לוקח לכתוב לנו יביע עומר חלק אחד? אני כותב ספר, אני כותב ספרים. I write books, I know. It takes years. You have to put your heart and soul and you have to put your life out there in order to have this book. A good book. With no mistakes. With the right depth. עולה על שולחן מלכים. And all the Rav Sfarim, so much light in the Sfarim of the Rav. And I mentioned it once before. לפעמים הרב כותב in the end of the תשובה or in the middle of the תשובה, עיין פה ועיין שם, עיין פה ועיין שם, ועיין פה ועיין שם. This עיין, it's תורה שלמה. תורה שלמה. I remember that once in a שיעור, the Rav said such a beautiful פלפול. קושיות, תירוצים, בניין שלם, מערכה שלמה. And then when the book came out after it, and we saw the tshuva, the whole ma'aracha was just ayin, וכן כתב, ועין פה, ועין שם, ועין שם. 5 lines. He said it 2 hours. 5 lines. רק עין פה, ועין שם, ועין פה, ועין שם. His goal wasn't to show his wisdom. The sefer meant now to get to the bottom of the halacha. That's not needed for this particular halacha. Just ayin, just okay, it's there. Whoever is going to open the books and going to find it is going to see it. And I would like to use another story to emphasize the chokhmah of the Rav, not just in Torah and Anhaga Klalit, but also Anhaga Pratit. When I became a rabbi about 20 years ago, I was young. First year as a Rav, in a community in New York. I had a case, very difficult case, halachically. It was a Kohen married to a divorcee. And as we know, Kohen is not allowed to marry a divorcee. And they had 3 children already. And I came, and when I found out about it, actually I spoke on the shi'ur about the inyan of Kohen and Grusha. And the guy came over to me after the class and said, Kvod Rav, what can he do? He didn't know, he was not firm, he was not religious. And he asked, as a not religious person, he found a Hasid Chabad, he said, I'm telling you the story he told. And he asked him, what does it take, how terrible it is for a Kohen to marry a divorcee? And I guess the other guy was Amaret Midoraita Drabanan, and he told him it's like a tzinun. So he said, tzinun, to get a cold, you get better the next day. And he married to this divorcee, and they have 3 children. That's Bechia Ledorot. The Halalim, the children, the daughter, they had a daughter, she's not allowed to marry a Kohen. The granddaughters from their sons are not allowed to marry Kohanim for all the generations. This is not a damage for now. This is a damage forever for this family. The Tinun, the Hurban. But that's the situation. Now he became religious, and now he's facing this situation. What should he do? So I told him, you got to get divorced. You can't stay married like this. But listen, I don't want to take the responsibility on my shoulders. I'm going next month to Eretz Israel. I'm going to go to Rav Ovadia. I'm going to speak to him about it. I collected all the information that I could from the Rabbanut, the history of his marriage, the history of her divorce before and her first marriage, all the information that I could. And I wrote a tshuva about it myself. And I went to Rav Ovadia. And the Rav heard my side here and there, why he decides to be matir, why he decides to be osir. And the Rav answered me like this: Ta'alim ayin limeno. Don't force him to get divorced. Don't force him to stay married. Ta'alim ayin. And I felt, why the Rav is not taking here like, the Rav known to be sakina harifa. Rav היה חותך הלכה פסוקה. And here all of a sudden, ta'alim ayin. Ignore them. Ignore the situation. I was wondering to myself why the Rav is taking such a position, but I could not second guess the Rav. Of course I can't second guess the Rav. Whatever the Rav told us, כמו הלכה למשה מסיני, I accepted it right away. I told the Rav, I instructed the men not to get aliyah to the Dukhan. He cannot be noseh kapayim. He says, of course he cannot be noseh kapayim. I instructed the Kohen before I came to the Rav. I told him, you cannot get aliyah to the Torah as a Kohen. You cannot. The Shulchan Aruch, ad shido alat rabim. I did what the Shulchan Aruch says. The Rav says, yeah, 100%. You should not noseh kapav. You should not oleh la Torah as a Kohen. But more than that, ignore them. Okay. This is a long story. It took 15 years for this couple to get divorced. And their Shalom Bayit, I can tell you, was hell. They used to call me at night, sometimes 2 o'clock in the morning. I used to get phone calls. Kvod Rav, come save us. Pikuach nefesh, pikuach nefesh. I used to go just telling them one thing. This is not going to work. This is not going to work. You're Kohen, you're Gerosha, you cannot stay married. I was not forcing them, but if they're already calling me, telling them the truth. Years later, the woman picked up, took her children, the 3 children, she moved to Israel. And he was left here in America, the Kohen. And I followed up with them. I left the community afterwards, went to other places. But I followed up. I also wanted to make sure that in Israel they're going to know what's going to be with these children, the halalim. 15 years later, the father comes over to me. Says, Kvod Rav, I would like to write a get and finish with the story. She's there, I'm here. I'm crying that I didn't listen to you 15 years ago. He was in an age that he could have get married again. Now he got older. I was going to marry him now. He cries that he didn't do it earlier. But now he came to a point and understand that they have no continuation. This is not going to last. He wants to give the get. Okay. We did a get. We sent it to Israel. עשינו את הגט ביחד עם הרב. עשינו את הגט, שלחנו אותו לארץ. She got the get. And then a year later, he tells me, my son is coming to America. I want you to meet him. Let me just go back. When this divorce happened, his wife, she didn't put up with the divorce so much. She didn't want to get divorced so much. She accepted it, but she developed such a hatred toward him and toward me also as the Rav who handled the divorce, who took care of the divorce for them. How could you do that? How could you do that? How could you do that? She spoke against me. She spoke against her husband. Okay, what can we do? This is the halacha. That's what the Torah says. Okay. A year later, his son comes to America, and the father asked me to meet with the son. And he asked me to explain to the son his situation. He's a halal, and he doesn't know he's a halal. the children didn't know their situation. And he wants me to explain this child, he's already 17 years old now, he wants me to explain him is a halal and what's the halal means and why is a halal and what's the halakha, and he cannot do it, the father. What can I do? Someone has to do it. I said, let me meet with the boy and we'll see. I meet with the boy. He's already 10 years in Israel. He comes over to me, he gives me a hug, he kisses my hand. He remembers me. He was a child when he left. I sat down with him, I started to speak to him. The boy is a Ben Torah. Baruch Hashem. He learns in yeshiva, and he knows so much. And I slowly came to the subject, and I asked him, do you know what the halal means? And he knows. You know what happens, how halal happens? He says, yeah, if a Kohen marries a divorcee, it's a halal. And slowly, I'm attracting him to give the right answers. Why Yunion is a Kohen and you're not doing Nesiut Kapayim? He knows his father's not doing Nesiut Kapayim. I said, I don't know, something happened with my Saba Rabba, something back there in the generations. I know what happened. And slowly, I'm walking with him through the story until he realized that actually that's not 10 generations ago. That's 1 generation ago. His father, by mistake, when he was not religious, he didn't know. He married his mother while she was a divorcee. And it hit him. He's a halal. He knows he's a halal now. He says, by the way, that means I'm a halal myself. That means I have to make sure my sister is not going to marry a Kohen. He knew already. The boy is a Tamid Chacham. I was so proud of him. But I left him with very good, pleasant feelings. Like he's strong, and he knows the truth now, but he knows how to handle it as well. And then I got the answer in my head. Why the Rav said, Ta'alim Ayin. If we would force divorce on this family while these kids were at a very young age, and this mother with the hatred she had toward Torah and toward the rabbanim would raise these kids in public schools, or in Israel in not religious schools, which is worse than public schools sometimes. If that's going to happen, where these kids will be 17 years later? The Rav didn't just saw the halakha, but he saw the situation of the family. Now they in a Jewish community. Now the kids going to yeshiva. Now they're learning Torah. A split of a family, to break the family in such a situation could be a disaster for the family, a disaster for the kids. And who knows the kids' future? It was clear then that the mother was not so religious, the father was more religious, he was more mitkarev, and she was left behind. And Baruch Hashem, when the divorce actually took place, they were already Talmidei Chachamim b'nei Torah, and they were very strong, they know how to handle it. This is the vision of the Rav, the wisdom of the Rav, not just to know the halakha, but also to know in a specific situation how to maneuver to the best of the situation, to resolve the matter the best way possible. I was just in Eretz Israel, came back today. I went to the cemetery, Sanhedria. Every time I go to Israel, I'm trying to go to the Tziyun of the Rav. This time I went there, and I left with tears in my eyes. And I felt these tears are not coming because I was just praying there. I said Tehillim, but I was not crying because of the Tehillim. I cried because I felt missing. Gaguim. So much Gaguim. We're missing the Rav. This is not, the Rav wasn't just another Rav that lived in our generation. His Torah, his Gadlut, his leadership, it's unreplaceable. We don't have anything like this anymore. Baruch Hashem, we have great Talmidei Chachamim, Gdolim Bador, but Chacham Ovadia was a unique, was something special, and we're missing him so much. We are praying to Hashem that his zechut will protect us, זכותו יגן עלינו ועל כל ישראל, שהרב יעמוד בתפילה לפני כיסא הכבוד, על הדור היתום הזה שלנו, שהקדוש ברוך הוא ירחם עלינו, שנזכה ללמוד תורה, ללמוד וללמד, לשמוע ולעשות, ונזכה בעזרת השם, יקוים בנו הפסוק, ופדויי השם ישובון, ובאו ציון ברינה, ושמחת עולם על ראשם, נזכה לגאולה השלמה, במהרה בימינו, אמן ואמן.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.